John Addison Bay. John was someone who always had a warm smile and joyful presence. Sahura Ahmed. Sahura passed away from a brain tumor very suddenly in the fall of 2016. She was a strong support for her daughter and wanted to give her a life that she didn't have. John Barnett. John moved between crisis beds in the men's shelter for more than a year before he moved into Adrian's safe haven. Residents said he was the best roommate ever. Desiree Bates. Desiree was a participant in the Dwelling Place program. She is missed by her family and those who worked with her. Donald Bishop. Donald passed away due to health complications. He is missed by his family and friends. Stephen Bravo. He was often smiling and had a positive attitude despite his circumstances. He didn't let his medical condition get the best of him and was so excited to finally have a home of his own. Michael Byram. Michael would do anything to help anyone. He was a fun-loving, quiet man who will be missed. Dimitri C. Dimitri moved into housing with his mother and died unexpectedly of a heart condition while exercising. He is dearly missed by family and friends. Anne-Marie Carrico. Anne-Marie had a strong will to be independent and helped others advocate for themselves. Mark Kauffman. Mark was a very quiet, well-intentioned man. Phil Constantine. He was known for his smile, his willingness to get his needs met, and ability to not let his medical condition limit his independence.
We remember Jamilatu Conte. Jamilatu passed away due to health complications. She is missed by her family and friends. Jaime Cordova. Jaime was a kind man with a gentle smile who was committed to helping his family in Peru. James D. James believed that if a person was willing to ask for help, they deserved to be treated with respect. He loved classic rock, decorating his apartment, motorcycles, and a home-cooked meal. Roscoe Davis. Roscoe had an infectious smile, a very sly sense of humor, and was a good friend to all. He was a gentle giant. Reed DeMoss. Ross held 2 degrees and had a passion for the guitar. He left behind a wife whom he was protective of, and she speaks fondly of him as a loving husband. Gary Finch. Gary was a funny, boisterous young man. He made every event larger and more interesting. He could be heard coming down the street, singing, and was known for his jokes, smile, and open heart. Anthony Frazier. Anthony was known for his humor and his expertise about sports. He loved talking about his experience coaching softball. Kathleen Garlington. Her challenges kept her on the street for years, and her best survival skill was her ability to make friends. She had a strong family support system and was admired greatly in this community. Salama God. God passed away due to cancer in January 2016. He is missed by his family and his friends. Carlton Gaither. Carlton was homeless for several years before getting housing. He offered advice to others who also had medical and personal challenges like himself. Gerald Gray. Gerald was a friendly man who worked hard to maintain his independence. Until his health began to fail, he kept himself employed much of the time and often slept at the construction remodeling sites where he worked.
Arletta H. Arletta was a spunky, vibrant woman. She was very close to her only son and proud to be a grandmother. She will be missed by her family, friends, and neighbors in the building where she lived for 10 years. Cecilia H. Cecilia had a loving family with several grandchildren. A former nurse, she loved spending time with her family and listening to music. Dorothy Hall. Dorothy was kind and loving, an encourager and courageous woman. She always had a smile despite being in challenging circumstances. Rose Herrera. Rose was a very friendly and loving woman. Donald Higgins. Everyone loved Mr. Higgins. He was a loving father with big plans for his son and tried hard to make sure his son had everything he needed to succeed in his life. James Jindell. James enjoyed having friendly neighbors and walking for exercise. He was a veteran who served his country. Alvin Johnson. Alvin was well known and liked by all. He worked with the Interfaith Works volunteer to improve his reading so he could read to his grandson. Alvin had a big heart. Hope Johnson. Hope was a caring person who was loved by everyone she came in contact with. She loved her children and spoke of them often. Hope was also loved to read and always had a book handy. Vincent King. Vincent was respectful, caring, and always there to help others and family members. Kevin Kinsey. Kevin was an artist with a great sense of humor. He was known at Progress Place as helpful and encouraged other clients to engage in services. He always had a friendly face. William Clarence Lamal. William was a Marine from 1979 to 2004. He was a friendly face in the community and will be dearly missed by his family and friends.
Althea Mager. Althea was a former model who was extremely energetic and generous. Everyone remembers her love of dogs. Althea had a big heart and strong community around her. Aloysius Mbu. Aloysius was a Supreme Court judge in his native Cameroon. Even with his physical and mental illness, he was optimistic. He worked at the Jewish Council on Aging and the Department of Health and Human Services before he became too ill to work any longer. Sam McGee. Family was important to Sam. He served in the Army and liked movies and seeing family when he could and staying busy. Sam will be missed by his family and many friends in the building where he lived. Donna Mcginnis. Donna was a very hardworking, dedicated client. She worked many long employment hours up until the weeks before her death. She was able to establish a substantial savings account and budgeted her earnings to save her money to work towards self-sufficiency. Kyle William McKinley. Kyle graduated from Wells Robertson Transitional House and moved into permanent supportive housing as a result of the county's work to end veteran homelessness. Kyle was a U.S. Army veteran who served in Iraq War. Kyle was engaged and an expecting father when he passed away. He served his country and loved his family. Dorothy Mercer. Dorothy was known in the community as a quiet person and a hard worker. Carolyn Morgan. Carolyn was a collector of angels. Family was important, even though her family lived miles away in other states. She loved her children and her grandchildren and was helpful to her friends. Ox. Ox had good friendships and shared with others in his community. Emily Ring. Emily was a talented artist who was very bright and left behind a loving husband.
G. Robinson. He had a soft side to him and always knew how to make his caseworker smile when he least expected it. He was a good friend to others and is truly missed. Anibal Rodas Velasquez. Anibal loved volunteering in Interfaith Works Kitchen. His love of cooking was rivaled only by his love for the Redskins, Real Madrid, and Manchester United. George Russell. George was a sweet man and quick with a smile. A strong member of the AA community, He was proud and vocal about his time in recovery, almost 20 years. Robert S. Robert was a passionate sports fan who enjoyed baseball, hockey, and basketball. He was a music fan and was very social with close friends. Brian Schwartzbeck. Brian was quiet and mainly kept to himself. He was proud of his expertise as a bricklayer. Summer Shepard. Summer came to Laytonsville Safe Haven with stage 4 cancer. Being homeless and mentally ill, she lost track of doctor's appointments. She died in the hospital while waiting for a hospice bed. She reconnected with her sister, who was at her side when Summer passed away. Kiran Shukla. Kiran was a sweet man who generally kept to himself. Known to be easygoing and respectful of the community, he expressed deep gratitude for everything the staff did to support him. Robert David Simmons. Bobby was honorably discharged from the Navy, where he was a fireman. Robert was served in Montgomery County Coalition for the Homeless, Operation Homecoming, where he was housed after years of homelessness. Robert loved that he had a place to call home. He is survived by his adult children and will be sorely missed. Keith Slater. Keith was an Army veteran who served from 1971 to 1973. He was always appreciative, proud, and strong-minded, and had a strong love for his family. Dave Stone. Dave was a veteran who was funny and sarcastic, very open and approachable. He was helpful to anyone who needed it.
John T. John was an Army veteran. After he left transitional housing, he married and was preparing to take an exam to become a physician's assistant. John was a devoted father who recently moved back to Vermont to be near his son. Greg Tompis. Greg was lively and enjoyed community activities. He was well known in the recovery network for his years of sobriety and used to use his own construction business. Vicky Shiloh. Vicky was a firecracker. She had so much energy and was known for her strength, perseverance, and ability to advocate. She loved her family very much. Robert Varderman. Robert kept to himself, but was beginning to engage in services before his death. Athenia W. Athenia was a kind-hearted person who always was ready to help her friends and family. Lawrence Walker. Lawrence was commonly known as Barbecue. He was friendly, outgoing, and boisterous. Lawrence was quick to laugh and protective of staff at Progress Place. He had a generous heart. Byron Wanza. Byron had a tough exterior, but a warm heart and was protective of those he cared about. He volunteered every year at Nadim Khan Homeless Resource Day and was an advocate for heart health. Joseph Washington. Joseph was a veteran and retired math teacher who was well-liked. He had a quick wit and a fierce determination. Joseph was a force to be reckoned with. Kenny Williams. Kenny was a Navy veteran from 1965 to 1967 during the Vietnam era. He was sweet, caring, and always positive and optimistic. Leslie Woodruff. Leslie was in Every Mind's Places for People program for several years. He transitioned into his own housing with HOC and was working with Cornerstone Montgomery the last few months of his life.